Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my corner of the internet. My name is Diamond, and this is my channel where I talk about books, TV shows, movies, and my opinions, and I rant and I vent, and I just like to get everything out because who else am I supposed to talk to about it? Okay? It's late at night. I have a nice glass of wine, and we're going to talk about Not About a Boy. I finally sat down and actually read the book. This is a book that I have been wanting to read for a while. First, I wanted to read it just based off the cover alone. I thought the cover was absolutely beautiful, and I didn't really know much about it. And if you watch my channel, you know that I mentioned time and time again that I go into books completely blind. Majority of the time, it's like either I seen a review about the book and someone was like, oh my gosh, this book was so good, or it emotionally wrecked me, and I'm like, okay, add to my TBR. Or if I like the cover, there's like 9 times out of 10 I did not do a lot of in-depth look into what the book is about. I am going to go through and let's look up the synopsis. One of the things that I enjoy about going into a book blind is that once after I read the book and I've thought about it for a while, and I can kind of like guess the theme or what the book was supposed to be about, I do enjoy it. Then when I finally look it up, I'm like, oh no, wait, yes, because when I read this book, the first thought that came to mind was this book was about young teenagers, but it was very adult themed. So when I did look it up, it said literally a YA with adult themes. So let's get into what the book is about. Not About a Boy by Maya Hollis follows 17-year-old Amelie or Mel Core, a recovering teen living with a wealthy Manhattan foster family. As she fights for her final chance at adoption, her life spirals when she discovers an identical twin sister she cannot remember, and a new romance triggers her relapse. Mind you, when you're reading it, if I had read this going into it knowing that she discovered that she had an identical twin, I feel like it wouldn't have been as fun to read it. But I'm reading it and I'm like, she got a twin, and she don't remember, but the twin remember her. That's crazy. Key themes and plot points is grief and sobriety. Mel is navigating the trauma and loss of her ex-boyfriend while trying to maintain her sobriety before she ages out of her foster care system. Long lost twin, contact from her identical twin Bree, shatters the secret of Mel's past and forces her to re-examine her entire life. Teen drama, a casual friends with benefits relationship with a boy named Hayden breaks down Mel's carefully built emotional walls. As I was going along and reading this book, I'm gonna put lip gloss on. As I was going along and reading the book, I kept forgetting that I was reading about young teenagers. Like teenagers that are barely 18. And even reading about her journey to how she got where she is, and the fact that she was 13 in love, or what she thought was in love, with a 14-year-old who had access to getting drugs, and the fact that she was working on being sober at the ripe age of 17. Okay? Like, it was so, every time I was reminded, like, they'll casually mention like getting drunk or taking drugs. And I was like, this is so mature for teenagers. But I think, and I'm like, this is literally somebody's life out there. There are young teens out there right now that have experience of underage drinking and doing drugs at a young age and being exposed to all those things, right? And it made me sad because I was just like, she, to be so young and to experience death like that, to be in a relationship with this young boy who is also struggling with his own mental health, and he's introducing you to these drugs and things that can numb you, but you feel like this is the first boy that has ever seen me, and you already from a very very young age grew up in the system, and there was parts of her childhood that she didn't remember, and the system or the facility that she was given to, they hid those parts from her. And it seemed like she suffered very heavily with depression and like having mood swings, and obviously with drugs. And she was so young when she lost her boyfriend, and the fact that she had broke up with him because their relationship was toxic. Like, it wasn't healthy. And so when she finally broke free from him, and then he just got into a new relationship, and then he might have accidentally OD'd, or maybe he did it on purpose. She doesn't know. But to her, it was like, if I wasn't there, I wasn't there to be there for him. Like, I was supposed to save him. So she feels like she didn't save him. And then the fact that she was such a young girl, and she was the one that was helping his mom take care of his funeral and consoling the girlfriend at the time. And there was so many, I feel like nobody ever, I don't want to say no one ever like truly was like, Mel, are you okay during that time? And also the fact that now she's 17, about to be 18, about to age out the system, and she's been fostered into this very wealthy couple. And even the foster dad, he grew up in this system, so he tried to relate with her and tried to be like, I changed my life around and all those things. And so it wasn't like she didn't have, up until that point where she was with a foster family that was well off. But at that point, she had struggled so much going in and out of foster homes. And then when she finally realized that she has a twin that she doesn't remember, it's just crazy because they were separated, and one twin like completely remembered everything about her, but she left early on out of the system because she wasn't the traumatized twin. And the more I'm reading it, and then you find out that their mom was a single mother. They didn't know who their father was, and the mom like worked and obviously took care of her kids. And the fact that, Mel was the one to find their mother, and Mel was the one that had called 911, and she had believed, just like her mom said, like everything's gonna be okay. But at that point, her mom did not make it. So it's like, this is so sad. And it had got to a point, like, okay, so there's part one and part two. And in part one, obviously we're getting to know all these characters. And I personally, like, I don't like when a book has a lot of different characters. It was so hard. I feel like I had struggled to get through part one because there were so many characters. There's like all her friends. There was friends from when she went, I think she was from her hometown to when she went to Manhattan. And it was just like she had her two best friends that completely understood her, knew everything that she went through. And it seems like she was surrounded by rich kids, like, throughout it all. And or she had friends who parents weren't at home, so she stayed with her best friend. And it's just like, it felt like all in part one, when we were learning about her character and who she is and what happened, and you get to part two, and it's like that was literally the breaking point. Like, she had a breaking point where it was just too much. Now she's in a friends with benefits situation. Okay, they're 17, and she's in a friends with benefits situation because she doesn't do relationships, and she just want to have a little fun. But obviously this boy Hayden is like having feelings for her, and like he wants to be in a relationship with her, but she's kind of like pushing him off. And like, it seems like no one in this current friend group, it was like she left that life behind, all the hurt, all the pain, all the grief. She moved, and she was able to build a new friend group, but nobody in that friend group really knew that she was struggling, that she had came from such a traumatic past. So it's like she was put on the front, like everything is fine, everything's okay. She's having meetings with a therapist, psychiatrist, like, and they know, like, hey, we know that you are struggling with sobriety. Like, we know that you have a drug problem, a drinking problem, all those things. But let's just check in because this is a good home. But it was so heartbreaking to read about the fact that she felt like she didn't deserve, or it felt like this is all she ever wanted. But when it was finally here, it was like, can I really trust that the situation is best for me? Can I really trust that they're not going to want to give up on me, that I'm not broken, that I'm healed? And it was just, and I would say in the second part, it did make me cry, and I did get emotional because reading, once she had got past that point where she was like, I need help. Once she started spiraling and she started taking pills again, and she was not acting like the Mel that everyone knew for who she was. And then when Hayden was just like, I'm done with this, like, I don't know, like, she never really told him this is what happened. And then it was like the 1 year, mind you, all of this is happening, and this is 1 year after the fact that all this is happening. So the 1 year death anniversary of the or the birthday of the guy that was her ex is coming back around. So all of this is triggering. Nobody really knows what's going on, and she's trying to be there for her new friends, and she's trying to be there for the family that's care about her like deeply. But she doesn't. It seems like she doesn't really know how to accept the love that they are offering her, because she's just been so left alone. And then she has this twin sister who is like, I can't believe you don't remember anything about me. And the twin sister was adopted by a lesbian couple, and like she struggled. So it was like, even their like relationship with them trying to figure out, the sister is upset because they won't let her try like audition for the ballerina thing, and she's just like, oh, it may look like I had a good life, but this and the third. And Mel is just like, what? Like, how can you sit here in my face and tell me that you didn't have a good life? So they had their little beef with each other, but when she really needed her sister the most, her sister was there for her, and she was like, I remember us being kids, and I remember you would stick up for me, and you would tell me everything's gonna be okay, and we had each other. And so I feel like that was really nice that, as much as they kind of went back and forth, it was just kind of iron out a lot of grief that they had with each other. And then when you find out that they did not tell Mel, like the system, her therapist, all of them did not tell her, like, hey, actually, yeah, we didn't tell you that you had a twin. When we brought you and your twin into this facility, you weren't the best twin. Like, you had experienced a traumatic situation with your mom that you tested well, but you didn't test well mentally. So it was hard. So we just separated y'all because they wanted to keep up their high rate of adoptions. And that's not, I thought that was like the craziest thing. And the fact that it took her being like, I want to read my folder. I want to read about who my mother was, and I want to read about my twin and all those things, for her to fully understand that she was missing a part of her this whole entire time. Like, she thought she was alone in this world, but she literally had a whole ass twin sister. And so the second part is what really got me emotionally, like, because, and I highlighted some parts, and I feel like the author did a really good job at writing some parts, which is written so beautifully, and I loved every part of it. And even the parts that I wanted to highlight, they were already highlighted by people. And I feel like if you've never experienced what it's like to reach your breaking point, where you feel like you've been holding everything in and you feel like everything's going fine, and then just something triggers it, and then you realize that you haven't been fine this whole entire time, I never felt her more in that situation. Like, I hope I highlighted it. Also, she had really good points like this. I highlighted this part. It said, this is when she was in the mental health, like the mental hospital, and she was trying to get help and getting back to like being a person. Like, she literally told her foster parents, like, I need help. And so one of the parts I highlighted was, I wish our phones still hung on walls. I wish people didn't feel like they deserve access to you at any time of the day. I wish we didn't carry the world and all its problems in our pockets. And I said no, like, dead ass, because I feel like our phones, we literally have so much access to the outside world. We know everybody's every waking thought. You can get on your phone and you can scroll. You might laugh, you might cry, and then you're exposed to some type of traumatic. Like, I've seen so many things, and I feel like it's just desensitizing us to like horrors of the world. Like, you should not open your phone and can see someone like getting shot at or dying or some type of violence. Like, we have so much access. And it's to the point where I feel like that's why it feels like nobody is original anymore, because it's all about the algorithm. It's all about, oh, this is what's trending right now. This is everything that everybody else wants to do. And then if somebody does do something creative, not everybody jumps on this bandwagon, and now it becomes a new trending topic. And so it just feels like there's no originality. It feels like everyone just doing the same thing. And it also feels like people can't have their own opinions. I feel like we've lost the sense of like, you can have your opinion, I can have my opinion, but because we don't have the same opinion doesn't mean that we're both wrong. It feels like everyone feels like, how many times can I say feel like, but it feels like everyone needs to be on one accord, but like no one can have differing opinions or like anything. And that's so crazy. Like, I feel like we all gotta move one band, one sound, and that's not how it is to live your everyday life outside. Like, when you shut that phone down, you actually have conversations with people. Like, I can have my own opinion, you can have your own opinion, you can be your own person. I'm my own person. But it feels like once you open your phone, you get on social media, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. And like, it's hard to be original because original doesn't get pushed. What's trending is what gets pushed. Things that are happening in the world that everyone likes is what's getting pushed. But you coming on with your original idea is really hard. Like, you really have to like try your hardest, right? And it just feels like everyone feels like they deserve access to you. And I'm also going to go through the popular highlights because there were so many good ones. This is when she was talking about her relationship with her ex, and it said he and I struggled with different things, but he knew what it was like to have your drain pulled to empty out on the floor. So after he seen what my darkness looked like, he learned how to manage it. And after I saw how black things got for him, I tried my best to become light. And I feel like that just goes back to the toxicity that was their relationship. She felt like he had pointed out things that no one else noticed about her. So she felt like, oh my gosh, like he really sees me. And he also had his own darkness. So she felt like if he can do that, then I want to be his light. And I feel like that's so hard to mentally put on for y'all to be 13 and 14 and y'all are both struggling with your own mental health. That I want to know, how is this young boy, well, I was gonna say how is he getting drugs and all those things, but that's just so sad to me. Like, and it's like there's no age to where mental health can affect somebody, especially if you don't really know how to handle it or you don't know that that's what you're going through. Like, that's just so deep. His name was Darren. And she talked about him, but it was like she loved him, but she said that he was also an asshole, but also like her best friend. Because she said, we told each other almost everything, and what I couldn't say, he just knew. I don't think anyone would ever understand me the way that he did. As I say those words, I know they're true. There are layers to the grief I feel around that realization. How did I manage to let him know me better than I knew myself? At what point did we stop relying on words? At least when there were words, when I had to talk something out with him, I benefited from that too. But there were things I didn't know how to talk about. I didn't have the vocabulary for how dark it got sometimes. I still don't. And it's like me being at my grown age of 26, about to be 27, it's like as you grow and mature, you get to know yourself better. You get to know your ups, your downs, what makes you. So it's just like the feelings that she felt, you're 13, you are still learning yourself. Like you just went from 12 to 13, like you're literally a teenager now. So it's like there's so many different things. There's so many things going on with your body. There's so many things going on. You're at school, you have friends. Like, I feel like at that age you are discovering yourself. You're like, to be at my age now, it's like you're literally a child. Like, you don't even know how good or better that your life can become. Like, it feels so deep and dark right then in that moment. It's just like these babies needed to be talking to somebody. Like, they needed to be talking to somebody, seriously. The other one I did, oh, this is when Bree got a higher test score than me, so you decided we couldn't be family anymore. And this is when she had discovered that they had separated her because her and her twin were on different parts of the score system. And so they were like, I said all that, but like, we're going to separate y'all so that we have a higher adoption rate. And this is her therapist, and he was like, LCS is an effective system, and for a system to work, it must have its rules. The goal for every one of our kids is adoption. Everything we do is a calculated means to that end. She said, I remember the night my mom died. I was the one who called 911. Did you know that? He said, yes, of course he did. My fingers tightened around the iPad. Unbelievable. When you were brought to L'Oreal, you wouldn't speak about what you saw. You passed the physical test with ease, but something in your psychological evaluation concerned us. Statistically, the longer a kid is in the system, the lower their chances of adoption. We wanted both you and your sister to have the best chance at finding a home, so we separated you. Over time, you begin to have trouble recalling much of your childhood. You didn't ask for Aubrey. We didn't think it would help to tap into those repressed memories before you were ready. You were a very sad child, but we were hopeful. That's like, that's so sad to me, that the fact that they like purposely separated them. And I'm glad that in part 2 she really stood up for herself. This is another one that I quoted. Life, the way we navigate it as women, as Black women, it's different. It takes incredible resilience and strong sense of self. The things you've been through, they're part of your story, but they're not the sum of your identity. You have to plant your identity, that word is fucking me up, deep enough for it to take root, because the world will try to define you, to tell you who you are and what you're worth. It isn't always easy to stay grounded in what you know to be true. You have to remind yourself constantly, no one knows you the way that you do. Oh, this is when she was talking about depression. And I said, depression isn't just isolating, it's erosive. It destroys beautiful things, feeds off the worst parts of you. For me, it flips on like a switch and builds until I can't see anyone around me anymore. When it ends, I have to tend to all the things I've neglected, the people who feel abandoned by me, and the responsibilities I failed to prioritize. It's exhausting. And even if I've done It's exhausting. And even if all I've done for the day is rest, I still never have the energy for it. And I feel like, you know how they say sometimes, like, you could have, what is it called? It's like you could be depressed, high functioning depression. Okay. I feel like there's so much, like, there's such a spectrum when it comes to everything. I feel like, because you could be depressed and not even know that you're depressed because you're just like a get up and go and type. But there are some people who, when depression hits them, it's like shuts them down completely, or you may feel overwhelmed and you may not text back, or you may not even realize that you've distanced yourself and isolated yourself. And then once you come up out of it, it's like, wow, now I have to respond to all my people. Now I have to show up again. And it's like that right there can even paralyze you. And we're going to take a wine break because I told y'all this book was deep. I did not expect for it to be this deep. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like mental health shows up differently for so many different people. Like, it just never looks the same. And people carry it. Some people carry it well and don't even realize it. And some people carry it not well and don't really realize it. And I just thought that was really good. I like that quote too. And it's hard to say like, oh, this was a good book, because this was a sad book. Like, genuinely, like, it was hard to read it, like, because just reading the fact that they're so young, that they're going through all this crap, and the fact that most of these kids were alone. Their parents were rich, but they were never home, so they didn't have like this family. Like, they were each other's family. And that is somebody's real life. That is somebody's real life. There are kids out there that are like this, that could probably relate so much to this book. But I feel like I related to some parts, especially when she just was talking about reaching your breaking point, and when you feel like you had it all together, but then you don't have it together anymore. And yeah. So overall, I gave the book on my story graph. If y'all don't know, I do have a story graph. I'm new. I just started tracking my books last year. I've read 20 books so far this year. I've read a lot of emotional books. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to get to my ratings. I gave it a 4. I thought so. I just made a video and I was like, I would never really harshly critique a book. Obviously, I feel like there are slow parts in the book, but at the end of the day, like, we're reading books that people literally took from their mind and put it on paper and said, here you go. Imaginary worlds. You know, it's never really that deep to me. Now, unless I'm like, you know, that book could have been better. My most I've rated a book, the lowest I've ever rated a book is like 3. Like, it would have to be really bad. And I don't think I would get on here and like harshly critique. But yeah, y'all, I did enjoy the book. It was a very like deep emotional read that I did not expect. And that's what happens when you go into books blind. I feel like even my energy talking about the book, like, there's nothing like, oh yeah, you know, I think, oh, that's the thing. It literally just ended. I forgot I have my I kind of hit on everything. It literally just ended. Like, okay, we're going through it. We're learning about who Mel is, and I'm grasping onto all these different characters, all her friends and stuff like that. And then in part 2, it's like she's picking her life back up. A part of me was just like, why did it just end like that? Because she didn't know if she wanted to be back with Hayden or not. Hayden really like had deep feelings for her. Like, he really cared about her. He damn near probably really loved her too. And she didn't know if like she could handle a relationship, because when they ended, that was also a part of the reason why she spiraled, because it just felt like she was losing everything. It was the birthday of Darren, or I think it was the death anniversary of Darren, and the dude that she do like, but she don't want to admit that she like, cause she's scared to like him. They got into an argument, and he told her to get out, like, and he's struggling with his own life, and he called her out and was like, you're just selfish, like, you don't realize all these people around you, like, everybody has their own problems, and you don't even know what's going on in everybody else's life because you're so focused on yourself. And she didn't realize those things, and she didn't realize that he was struggling with the fact that his parents are divorcing and that he's not happy, and like maybe he was using her as an escape, and like she was just so internalized with all her feelings and her emotions that she didn't see that with everybody else. And so in the book, while she finally gets out of the mental health hospital, and she finally gets out of the mental hospital, and she is home, and she's trying to pick up the pieces again, and he comes to her house, but she's just like, I can't do it right now. But then she ends up linking up with him again, and then they hug, and then it just ended. But we did find out that her foster parents were like, we love you. If something happens to you, we want to be able to have some type of say with anything that has to do with you. So we want to adopt you before you turn 18. And she was like, really? Like, she couldn't believe that that's what they wanted to do. And I was like, wow. I love the fact that she was beginning to get her happy ending, but I would have loved to have read, like, I don't know, some type of like year later or something, like 1 year later, because I just feel like I don't like a book that just ends. Like, that would be my only thing I did not like about it. Too many characters, and the fact that the book just ended. Like, there wasn't really I feel like a true ending, but I feel like that's just life too. It's something. It reminded me of like when I was reading Verity, not Verity, yeah, Score with Verity, and it reminded me of just like there was a point in the book where she talked about how once you're diagnosed with whatever it is that you finally get help for, and it takes a while because they have to experiment with medications and try to figure out what works, what doesn't work. So it takes a while for them to stabilize whatever it is that you're going through. It's just a part of you, but it's not who you are. It's something that you have to live with. And sometimes that can be really exhausting. And when people don't have mental health issues, when people don't struggle with like anxiety and all those things, I feel like the energy that you put into it, like me naturally, I'm an overthinker and I can get anxious sometimes. And I tend to overthink conversations or what I'm going to say or how the conversation went or XYZ. Like, I just go through so many things in my brain, and that can be so exhausting sometimes. Like, I know there are some people who literally not a thought in their head. Like, they're just like, boop, whatever happens, whatever comes out of my mouth, like, I'm chilling. Like, that's just me. And I feel like that's just a part of like being comfortable with who you are. Me personally, this is me talking about myself, but it's like being comfortable in who you are and being confident in who you are. But I do tend to overthink. And when I was growing up in my teenage years, I did struggle a lot with like feeling like I didn't fit in with my peers, feeling like how can I be in a room with all of my peers and I can't seem to relate to nobody? Like, why can't I just have a conversation with everybody? Like, I feel like I struggled a lot growing up, feeling like I could not connect with those that were around me. And I would look around and see everybody talking and having fun and laughing. And like, then it was just me by myself. And I always felt like I wanted a sense of feeling like I belonged in some type of friend group in school. So, and that can feel exhausting. But as I've gotten older and I've gotten better and I've just had to just like, hey, you gotta take it to the chin, shorty. Like, you got to, as I'm growing my platform, as I'm building my business, like, there comes a point where I just was like, you have to do this, like, it's not a big deal. It's more so like telling myself, I'm going on a tangent, but it's more so telling myself, like, it's not as big as you think it is, like, it's not as big as you think it is in your head. Like, people have their own issues and their own problems and their own things they're thinking about. Like, you're not crossing their mind as much as you think you're crossing their mind. Like, don't make it a big thing because it's not a big thing. And I've gotten better at it where I just kind of I let the thoughts flow and I just let them go. Like, flow, let them go. Like, I don't sit on things that are negative. I just keep positivity and I'm like, that's just you, shorty. Like, just be cool. Just be cool, twin. Just be cool. That's how I feel. But anyways, yeah, so that's the only thing I didn't like is that I felt like it just ended. Like, if I look, let me see. This is when she meets up with Hayden and they both apologize. He said, I'm sorry I hurt you. We stayed this way for a long time with his arms around my shoulders and my head against his chest. I cried because I know where I need to put him. what space I can allow him to occupy in my life right now. The compartments of my brain shift in anticipation, like the shuffling of books of a library. And now there is nothing left unsorted. We both know, so we can't let go. I'm sorry I hurt you too. So that was it. Like, she's just figuring out her life, you know. But I just wish we would have got like an update, like, you know, a win for Mel. You know, like she grew her relationship. She's with her foster parents, and maybe her and Hayden got back together. Maybe they didn't, but I definitely would have loved an overall wrap up, it feels like. But yeah, y'all, that was Not About a Boy, and definitely did not expect it. But overall, I did enjoy it. So if you have read that book, leave down in the comments below how you felt about the book and the parts that you did like, parts that you didn't like, and I would definitely respond back to them. I love when people leave comments. Like, I love interacting with y'all. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you watched all the way through, I do have another channel where I do a lot of lifestyle vlogs, entrepreneurship, and business things like that. All my links are always down in the description box down below, and I will see y'all in my next video.